Enjoying Life Over the Road, a community that champions adventure, innovation, and well-being.
Welcome back to Enjoying Life OTR. My name is Cindy Tunstall and I'm your host. Today my guest is Todd Kantor. He's a fairly new CDL holder, but is really making the most of the opportunity to travel. In this episode, he shares some of the fun things that he's been able to see and do and experience as he's traveled across the United States. He's team driving and having a great time out on the road with his girlfriend. They both have CDLs and are both doing a great job out there keeping our roads safe and just having a fun time as they travel along. He was really honest as he shared some of his struggles that they had when they first started and getting their new CDL. And, you know, the training goes quickly and then you're kind of out there doing your thing. But he's really gotten comfortable now and is really loving the lifestyle. So I had a great conversation with him. He had so many fun stories to share and he's just doing so many great things out there. So I know you're going to enjoy meeting him. Welcome to the show, Todd.
Thank you.
Well, tell me a little bit about your story. Introduce yourself to everybody. What kind of rig are you driving and what kind of freight are you pulling usually?
Well, I'm 39 or whatever. I started doing this at about 37. My girlfriend and I, we had decided that we wanted to work together. We wanted to make a little bit more money, and I used to work at a granite place. And she got her permit first, and then she got a scholarship, and we went to school, and we just kind of jumped headfirst into this and got our CDLs. Started working for the first company we found, and they've been really good to us so far. We pull reefer. We pretty much go all over the country. We drive a 22 Volvo VNL 860.
Well, that's great. So you're team driving?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, good. And your company drivers?
Yes.
Okay, good. So I love that. So how's that going? What's it like teaming with your girlfriend?
Well, it can get a little exhausting. I mean, we don't really get to sleep very much together, and when we do, I mean, it's kind of sporadic. But we get to go pretty much anywhere in the country that we want to, and we get to share the road with each other, you know, and it's fun.
And how do you split up the driving responsibilities? Do you have shifts, or does it vary, or how's that work out?
Well, for the most part, I'm the night driver, unless our schedules get kind of reversed sometimes, depending on how long we spend at a shipper or receiver. I mean, it can get reversed sometimes, but for the most part, I'm the night driver, and she drives during the day.
So tell me what you love about this type of work. How's it, I know you had some expectation when you got into the industry. You're fairly new to trucking, so what's it been like? Is it what you expected?
To tell you the truth, when I first jumped into this head first, I was absolutely terrified I was going to fail. I had never driven a big vehicle like this before, and to be honest, I was terrified. My trainer pulls up, he's like, "Hey, so have you ever coupled before?" I'm like, "No." He's like, "Okay, we're going to couple right now. Here, get behind the wheel." And before this, I had driven a small little day cab truck before in our school. They only had like 28-foot trailers and day cab trucks, and so driving a big, huge 77-inch sleeper with a 53-foot trailer was completely terrifying to me.
Right.
And I hop behind the wheel, and he's like, "Okay, so we're going to Pennsylvania now." And before that, I had pretty much stuck around Minnesota, and I'd never been anywhere, and I was terrified. And even when I finished my training, I was still kind of scared that I was going to fail. And now, 2 years into it, I'm absolutely in love with the profession. I love it. Actually, part of the reason I love truck driving so much is the fact that I get to get up and do things or whatever. Before I started driving truck, obviously, I'm based out of Minnesota. But before I started driving truck, it was pretty much, I've been as far west as Fargo and as far east as Hudson, you know, and that's about the extent of it. So
yeah.
And at this present moment, we're actually on our way to California, Vernon, California. It's an adventure.
Yeah, I love that. So how long till the nerves settled down for you? What was the process like?
Well, after we got out of our trainer's trucks, it took me probably about 6 months to finally get used to it, because we run a lot of California, like Donner Pass area. We've ran like Snoqualmie up by Washington and everything, and so the winters can get a little terrifying going through mountains if you've never been through mountains. And we've chained up probably 4 or 5 times our first year, and going down a slick mountain pass where there's ice everywhere can get a little scary, but after about 6 months, we settled down, and we're perfectly fine with it. And we have fun with it. It's great.
So how long, you guys started your training kind of at the same time frame. How long were you driving before you got together or you were in the same truck?
4 weeks. It was supposed to be 6 weeks, but it was kind of in the middle of COVID, so they kind of rushed us through a little bit. And her trainer was done with her before my trainer was done, and my trainer wanted to keep me out for a little bit longer, but he was like, well, you know what, good enough. And it turns out I guess I was good enough.
It's so funny. Okay, so when you've been driving, you're fairly new, and like, did you have a mentor, or did you stay in touch with your trainers, or how did that work? Because it seems pretty abrupt to get you out there on your own so quick.
Yes, I stayed in touch with my trainer. I still call him occasionally. He's a really knowledgeable guy. He had been driving for 30 years before he got me in his truck, and I can ask him literally any question that I want to, and he has a good, solid answer, and he knows what he's doing, and he's one of those drivers who you could be driving down the road with him like 1,000 miles away from where you're at, and he'd be like, oh, stop here. I know a good restaurant right here.
Oh, I love that. That's so great.
And he's been coast to coast and really, really intelligent about his driving and everything. He taught me really well. My girlfriend's really grateful for that.
Yeah, that's so good. I love that. So tell me a little bit about your life out on the road. Are there certain things that you've been able to do as a result of the travel that have been fun, something outside the truck, or what's that been like for y'all?
Oh yeah, absolutely. The adventure is the best part about it. Our first run, when we first got our truck, it was a 2017 Volvo VNL 780. When we first got our first truck, we got to go down to Jacksonville, Florida for our first run. And at that point in time, both my girlfriend and I had never seen the ocean. And so we get this run and we're just like, oh my God, we're going to Florida. Wow. And we get down there and we find a truck stop to park at, and we pay the parking, and we got an Uber down to the beach in Jacksonville, and we went and took some pictures by the ocean because, like I said, we had never seen it before. And we walked from there to a seafood restaurant and tried gator for our first time, and it was just an amazing experience for a person who just kind of jumped head first into this, you know?
Yeah, I love that. That's a great first adventure. I grew up I've always lived on the coast, so I've always grown up by the ocean. So I always love to hear that experience of people going to the ocean for the first time. What did you think?
It was different. You get it down to Florida, and there's lizards like everywhere. Like in Jacksonville, you could practically step on them. Like you see a little glimmer of movement off to the side, and you're like, "What the heck was that?" And you look over, and then all of a sudden there's lizards everywhere. It's such a shock to me. And then you see things like pelicans or crabs climbing up trees, and you're just like, "Whoa, where the heck am I?"
So where are you originally from?
Minnesota. We are both born and raised from central Minnesota.
Yes, it's quite a shock.
Absolutely.
So where else have you been? What else has been fun while you've been out on the road?
Well, we've pretty much been every single corner of the country. We've been as far northeast as far Vermont. We've been all the way to Washington. Oregon's one of the few states I haven't visited yet. We go to California quite a bit. We do San Diego runs, picking up from the border right there. We can literally see the border from a place that we pick up at. And we've obviously been down to Miami, down in that area, dropping off there. Laredo, Texas. That actually brings me to a pretty funny story, actually, about borders. I believe it was San Diego. My girlfriend and I, we were going down there, and this is our first border run. And we're following our GPS, and there are concrete barriers set up blocking the road that we were supposed to turn left on. And these concrete barriers are basically funneling us into a border checkpoint. And we had just started driving, so we didn't really know what we were doing, and we're sitting here being honked at by Mexican truck drivers heading to the Mexican border, telling us that we were going to Mexico. We are just sitting there panicking, and we don't know what to do. And this one nice guy pulls over. He's like, "Hey, follow me," and he gets us through the checkpoint and tells us to go talk to the guy at the other gate. And we pull up there, and I hop out to go talk to the border guard to tell him that we had gotten turned around, and I approach him. I'm like, "Hey, excuse me," and the guy jumps back like I'm about to shoot him or something.
Oh, no.
He didn't know what the heck to think. And I'm like, "Hey, excuse me, we got turned around, and we got through this checkpoint, and we're supposed to be going this way." And he's like, "Oh, are you in a car?" And I'm like, Yeah, we're in that Freightliner behind you. He turns around, his eyes get big. He's like, oh yeah, I'll open the gate for you, and there wasn't any problem. But it was just so terrifying for our first border experience. But it turned out okay.
Yeah, so good. So many adventures. Well, tell me about some other things that you guys have been able to do on the road. It must be fun traveling as a couple.
Absolutely, it's great. One of our first times going to Washington, we were going through. It was kind of spring temperature, spring season, and my girlfriend and I were driving, and I was in the sleeper, and she wakes me up. She's like, "Todd, wake up, wake up, wake up!" And I look outside, and there is hundreds of elk that are apparently doing a migration, and my jaw just drops. I'm just like, wow.
Oh my gosh, that would be so great.
It was an amazing experience. One of my favorite things about doing this also is being able to see all the wildlife that I've never seen before. Like in Minnesota, you don't really have elk or moose or things like that, and so to see stuff like that is pretty cool, actually.
So exciting. I love that. So great. I'm headed out to the West Coast this next week and coming up, and I'm excited about being out there and seeing some places. I usually read Midwest. I'm from Texas, and I do a lot of the Midwest, and of course I'm from Florida, so I stay over here. But I'm excited to venture out a little bit this week. I'm excited to see some new things. It's so great.
What part of West Coast are you going to?
Washington State.
Washington State? That's one of my more favorite areas out that way. It's really beautiful out that way.
Yeah, everybody tells me it's such a great drive, so I'm super excited. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm like, I love it.
It's a great area, honestly. It's one of my more favorite trips. We have a few places that we like to stop there. There's in St. Regis on, I believe it's I-90 or I-94. There's a gift shop with a big, huge trout aquarium there, and there's also a place called 50,000 Silver Dollars that has a pretty decent restaurant. It has a historic story behind it. There's literally 50,000 silver dollars up on the wall. Well, actually 80,000. Sorry, they updated it, but 80,000. But yeah.
I have an app. It's called Enjoying Life OTR. So you'll have to get on there and put in some of your favorite stops. I really I had created a social network that's designed for truckers, so we can share our favorite things and kind of just maybe when we're planning a trip out, like you could post some of that stuff on there. Then when I'm planning a trip out that area, I could stop at some of your favorite places. And I just wanted to create a community where we could share great ideas and share some of our adventures.
That's pretty neat. I will definitely join. That's my favorite part about driving truck is being able to do these adventures.
Yeah, it's so incredible, and I love the men and women that I've been able to meet on the road. And I think truckers are so great. They're so so helpful for each other, help each other out, and willing to share things that they learn. And I just love being a part of the community, and so super great. So I just want to kind of create a place where we could all connect and share some of our adventures. So yeah, I'd love to have you on there, and especially before I go out to Washington, you can give me some great places that I should stop along the way.
Absolutely, I will definitely join. That's the best part about driving. Well, one of the best parts about driving truck is the fact that we're all community. I mean, you go to a truck stop and you can sit and have a random conversation with some guy you've never met, and you'll probably never see before ever again, and he understands what you're going to. He understands what we're all doing out here. It's different. It's not like other jobs where everybody just kind of goes home at the end of the day and they ignore the rest of the world. We're all out here together, and it's a community.
Yeah, it's a great community. I love that too. That's really the motivation for starting the podcast. I thought, I've been talking to so many drivers and getting to hear these great stories, and I thought, everybody needs to hear these stories because there's so many great things that we're getting to see and do. And even for myself as a driver, I think when I'm out, I'm like, man, I wish somebody was here with me to get to see this with me and get to experience it. So I just thought there's just a great way to share with our family and our friends what we're going through out here and kind of get to share some of our favorite stories. So there's so many good things that are happening out there. Yeah, I've really enjoyed the community and getting to hear other people's stories, so it's been super great, and I just love it so much because I'm like you. When I stop and talk to somebody I live here and we're hearing about what their trips they've been. Are there other favorite things you've been able to do while you're on the road?
Well, we run a lot of Southern California, and that I-15 passes directly through Vegas, and we get the opportunity to sometimes stop and do a little bit of a layover there and we park our truck at a truck stop called Wild Wild West, which charges, I believe, $15 for 24 hours worth of parking, and it's literally right across the strip. So we park there, and we'll go wander over and go eat at one of the fancy buffets there, or check out the Bellagio fountains with the lights and everything like that, and just kind of wander Vegas.
So fun. Vegas is so fun. I love to go there.
It's beautiful. When you roll in through 15 going over that hill, it just goes from like almost pitch black to just lights everywhere.
Yeah, it's like a whole nother world.
Yep.
So great. So what are your plans for the future? Are you guys planning to stay with the company that you're with, or do you have plans to get your own truck one day, or what are your plans for the future? Where do you see yourself going from here?
I've heard a lot of horror stories about people working for companies and just being treated poorly and not getting the kind of miles that they want and never being able to take home time or anything like that. And I have zero complaints about the company that I work for right now. They've treated us so well since we started driving, and we've had 3 brand new trucks, and they pretty much let us pick out whatever truck we want. And it's not exactly a small company, but it's not exactly a big company. Everybody knows your name, and my dispatcher is really good to me, and he lets me basically do what I want. And he's knowledgeable. He was a former truck driver himself. And as far as like owner operator, I've thought about it, but the fuel prices are so ridiculous right now. It almost would be kind of scary to jump into lease purchasing a truck or something like that and trying to make ends meet driving across the country with the prices the way they are, especially California, which is a lot of what we do.
Well, I totally agree with you. It'd be a crazy time to jump in right now, and I think there's so many benefits too from being a company driver. It's like you as an owner operator, you do there's potential maybe to make a little bit more money, but also the risk. You take on that risk of the expenses of breaking down and things like that. Where as a company driver, if you break down, they just get you in another truck, and that's kind of nice.
Exactly. Speaking of breaking down, we were. It was about 6 months ago. We were running through Sioux Falls, that area, Sioux Falls, South Dakota. And as I said, I was the night driver, and I was driving out of nowhere, out of the center median, hopped up a big, huge white-tailed deer, and I smashed right into it, and it cracked my grill, it cracked my radiator, it broke my condenser, broke my hood latches. And we pulled over to the side of the road, and we lost all our coolant, and they towed us back, and they put us up in a hotel for a couple days and gave me a rental and told us that we had another truck that we had to pick up, but it was on the Grand Canyon side of Arizona.
Oh, wow.
So we ended up driving down there in the rental with a little bit of our stuff from our truck, and we stopped in Vegas again, and we picked up this other truck. We had to drive somebody else's truck for about 3 weeks while we waited for our truck to get fixed.
Wow, that's crazy. Yeah, that's nice. You don't have to worry about that expense. Well, even as your owner operator, it's like when your truck is, out of commission, having to be repaired, like you're not earning money, but your truck payment is still due, your insurance is still due. So there's definitely some benefits to being a company driver.
Exactly. That's terrifying. One of our drivers, his name is Jim. He drives a beautiful yellow Pete 379, or is it a 389? I can't remember. But he drives this beautiful truck, and he was complaining about fuel prices, and he's got a really big payment and everything like that. It's terrifying, I mean, what happens if it breaks down? You lose your paycheck.
Yeah, it's stressful. Hey, how are you guys doing staying healthy on the road? I like to talk about wellness on the road too. Do you guys has that been a challenge for you?
Well, with team driving, it's kind of hard to get the exercise. But that's why whenever we get a chance, we pull over and park and go for a walk as much as we can. I've thought about putting a bike on the truck or 2 bikes on the truck.
Yeah, I've seen those where a driver will sit on their in their bunk and they have a little foot pedal where they could do that. I thought, yeah, that's smart. That makes sense for a team driver. So the truck is always moving, so that's always a big challenge for team drivers, I hear.
Exactly. One of the things that you can do that we've been trying to do as much as we can is eat out of the truck. We have a fairly well-equipped truck for cooking and eating out of it. We have a chest freezer on our top bunk, and we have a microwave, air fryer, convection oven that we use for cooking. And I have a little propane barbecue griddle thing that I've been bringing with too that works pretty well. Because let's face it, this truck stop fast food stuff, it's why a lot of us truck drivers end up gaining a lot of weight, is because we have no ability to go out and move around, and the easiest food is right there, and it's the least healthy.
Yeah, so true. Like, I would like to see them have more salads available. It's like, if you just a salad with some protein, like, that's a great lunch. It's like, there's some nutrition in there, throw in some leafy greens. That's good. Yeah, cooking's the way to go. That's good. Hey, this is a great time to hop on here and remind you to get our app, Enjoying Life OTR. It's free. It's a social network that's designed just for truckers, a great place for us to share our favorite stops or maybe find some new ones. Can't wait to connect with you there. Enjoying Life OTR. I've enjoyed your stories, and I hope that we'll get to connect again. And where are you guys headed out next?
To Vernon, California.
Nice. Well, you guys keep in touch, and I've enjoyed, I know you guys are busy, so I appreciate you taking the time out for me and getting to share some of your stories, and I'll look forward to connecting with you on our app.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thanks so much. You guys be safe out there and enjoy your journey.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Drive safe.
Well, that wraps up this episode. Thank you so much for coming along on this journey. Hey, I'd love to have you on my show. Get in touch with me if you're interested. I know you've got a lot of great stories to share. Y'all have seen and done a lot of fun things, and I would love to share your story. Send me an email. My email address is in the show notes, cindy.tunstall@elotr.com. I look forward to connecting with you on the app and hearing all about the many ways that you are enjoying Life OTR. Thanks so much for all you do to keep our roads safe and looking out for each other while you're out there. I sure do appreciate you. We all take care, and by all means, enjoy the journey.